All right, welcome back to the channel. Today I have a special guest, Peyton Helm. He's a wedding photographer business coach, and he also runs his own wedding photography business. And so he scaled that, and now he teaches other people how to scale their own wedding photography businesses. So Peyton, you are coming out of a massive month, a record month actually. And so I just wanted to hop on with you, and thanks for hopping on as well, and just kind of like recap not only like the entire journey too, but especially just over the last like maybe like 3 to 6 months as well. That really seems to be like where a lot of like your massive growth is really taken off. So yeah, Peyton, welcome to the channel, brother. You mind just giving us a quick little background and kind of who you are and what you do
Yeah,
and
for
what
sure,
and
man.
what you've done?
Of course. So first off, thank you like for the invite. It's crazy. I feel very honored to be here. But yeah, like so I'm a wedding photographer in Tennessee in the United States, and I started my coaching program in 2021, and it was a lot of trial and error, just trying to like figure out how to teach, what to teach, how to grow it and everything. And like my first year, I only did like 50K. And I was like, whatever, like we'll grow slow. It's cool. And I went through like so many different iterations of my program because I teach very similar stuff to you, marketing and sales and advertising and stuff. And I really just like I didn't invest in a lot of coaching programs, so it was a lot of trial and error. And yeah, I did hit my first six-figure year with it last year, or actually no, sorry, the year before last. Did 200 last year, and then this year is going to be insane. So, and that's mostly all thanks to joining your program and being part of the mastermind too. And just having your all's help in my back corner has been absolutely monumental. So I'm really excited to dive into that stuff. But yeah, that's me. I like photo stuff and marketing stuff. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's incredible. And yeah, so literally today is the first of the month. So
Yeah.
you just wrapped up a record month. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So this month, I really scaled ad spend hard because I've been like kind of scared, honestly, to increase ad spend. And I've been doing well the past couple months, as you guys know. Well, as you know, because you're in the program. Um, and this month, I was like, okay, I'm really going to hit it hard. So I increased ad spend by quite a bit. And it paid off. So I did 73K cash and 80 something, I think 88, 89 gross revenue. And it's been great, like no bottlenecks whatsoever because of the things you guys have helped me do in the mastermind. And really the only problem is just spending more money on ads to get more leads in. And like, that's it. It's just been amazing. And it's been a grind. I will say that, like, calls every day. And my setter has just been going nuts. Which I don't know if you know, but one of your guys set him for me. So that was awesome. Um,
Micah,
but
right?
yeah, do it.
Oh, never mind.
Like, no worries.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's been crazy, and he's been crushing. Give him a bonus because it just feels so good to like treat my people. But yeah, man, it's been amazing, and I'm so grateful and so thankful for you and the whole team. So yeah,
that's awesome, man. Yeah, it's a pretty cool feeling when you have no bottlenecks and you can literally and you have a machine where you can just like print money.
yeah,
So that's pretty cool. I'm excited to see kind of like you might not be, but I'm kind of excited to see like how far you can take it and then kind of like what the next fires are.
yeah.
Because like fires will come up, bottlenecks will happen, and constraints will arise, right? But nonetheless, we know how to fix them. So I kind of want to double click a little bit on spending more money on ads
Mhm.
because a lot of people are very hesitant to do that, right? And especially like it was an interesting thing for me too as I was starting to scale. It was like I was making way more money than I ever had before, but still the thought of spending like over like I don't know, like 10 or 20K a month on ads was just
Yeah.
like terrifying for me. Even though I was turning like a dollar to 12,
Hmm.
like it was there was a lot of like resistance to increasing the ad spend, even though the ROAS like justified it like crazy. So talk us through kind of like your mindset when it comes to ads, when it comes to raising your budget, spending more on ads, because I know that's something that you mentioned that you just did this past month. And
Hmm.
I'd imagine it was pretty scary.
Yeah, yeah, it really was. I so honestly too, because like like I run ads a little bit different than you teach in your program, but I adapted some of the things that you teach finally after 3 months of like running like the ads on Instagram and everything that you teach. And that actually helped quite a bit. in bringing in the extra revenue because my setter was going nuts in the DMs, getting those people on the phone, and I closed several of them. I didn't track exactly what my profit was, but overall, I spent $8,400 on ads and made 73K cash, and then 88 or 89 gross or whatever it ended up being. So no, I mean almost a 10x, ROI, which everywhere else I look, that's amazing. But then in your program, that's like almost normal from what I can tell. Don't quote me on it, but like every single time I see somebody, they're like, "Oh, I had a 20x ROI or like a 15 or 10." I'm like, okay, that's freaking crazy. But yeah, so anyway, it was very scary because like when you upspend and you get past a certain threshold, everything becomes a little bit more expensive. So you're spending more for the same result. So you have to break past that. And that was a little bit tough mentally to do. But like I think Alex may have said this, but he was like, or maybe you said this, I'm not sure, but it's like a lot of these bigger companies are built on like a 3x, ROAS. So push it and push it and push it as hard as you can. And I was like, cool, I'll just do that. And I'd rather spend 30 and make 100 than spend 10 and make 60. You know what I mean? So that was my mindset
Mhm.
going into it, and it paid off. And I'm increasing ad spend more and more and more every few days so that way I could pass 100K next month, or this month rather, because it's April.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's my goal, and I'm pretty confident I'll hit it. So
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, it's funny you say that too, because yeah, I mean, it might be different at scale. Like, I think even like 100K a month isn't really like at scale. I think it's when
yeah,
you get into like well past that, kind of the multi seven into the eight figures is like where things probably really start to drop. But nonetheless, like all of the ads programs that I've ever taken in the courses and just everyone that I've followed, it's like if you get a 3x ROAS, that's your indicator to just empty the bank account on ads. Like
yeah,
that's like and that's after like 3 to 6 months of testing and split testing and landing pages and CR, like all that kind of stuff. But you're right. It's like it's kind of wild how high the standards are and how high like the baseline ROAS has kind of just played out to be in the community.
hmm,
Which is good and bad because it's good for my side on like a marketing angle because it sounds
hmm,
amazing, but it's bad for some clients that only get like a 5 or a 6 going through the program. They think something's completely wrong with them and
yeah,
that like nothing's working, and then they're hesitant to spend more and actually scale, whereas in
hmm,
reality they're doing twice as good as literally anybody else
hmm.
outside. So it's like a double-edged sword there. But I'm curious to know, Peyton, like when did you start running ads? Were you kind of first introduced into that, like especially like for your coaching business? Because I imagine there's
Hmm.
like you probably learned with like the wedding stuff and then that carried over a little bit.
Yeah, I learned a long time ago with e-commerce back when like Shopify dropshipping was huge. I guess it's still huge, but I got my feet wet with that and I was very bad at it, but I still made some profit. And then I translated that to the wedding industry and I went full time in 2 years in the wedding industry, which is like very fast for a lot of people. Not trying to sound arrogant or anything, but I knew ads and I got lead gen down. So when it came to launching the program, I was kind of well versed in ads at that point. So it was a little bit different running ads for a coaching program than for weddings. It was a lot harder. So from like mid 2021 to end of 2023, which is when I joined your program, it was like 2.5 years of real trial and error to get my point, or to get ads to a point where they were really, really churning hard. And they're doing really well. So I wasn't, I guess, I don't know what your typical students are, but I wasn't the one that's like, hey, I need lead gen solved because I had lead gen solved. I really needed scale solved. So that's why specifically like your program and your mastermind was really appealing to me. But anyway, going back to it, um, over 2 years, I built a really solid system. It's a little complex, but it works really well for me for lead gen. And I was getting like an 8 to 9x, ROI, sometimes 12x ROI some months. I joined another program right before yours, and I tried their ad strategy, and it was way more complex, and it completely bombed. I went to like a 2x ROI, and I was like, "Fuck this! Don't want to do that. I'm gonna do something else." And then I saw your ad, funny enough. But I think it's interesting, like my feedback on the way you teach ads, since I know ads really well, is a little frustrating because you have such a simple ad strategy. When I got in the program, I was like, that's stupid that it works so well, but it does. And it made me, I was like, why didn't I just do this like 2 years ago? Because, like I said, I started running ads the way you do, and they worked immediately. without having to tweak a bunch of different landing pages and like a whole bunch of different ad copy and stuff. So that's cool. So like for anybody listening to this now who like has a problem of lead gen, the way you run ads is better than every other program I know I've personally been in. So yeah, it works. It works really well.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. And yeah, it's very much so in alignment with one of the principles I follow is simple scales, fancy fails,
Mhm.
right? So yeah, that's cool. But a couple things from that. So first of all, we'll just stick with one thing at a time here, but I kind of want to double click on a couple things. So you mentioned that you've been like testing and iterating and improving and trying it for like over 2 years.
Mhm.
Most people would probably give up. I hear a lot of horror stories about like, oh yeah, I tried this program, they taught ads, I spent 5K, I didn't make my money back. Ads aren't for me. Ads don't work. I'm special. What was that like? Like what were you telling yourself throughout the past couple of years, kind of like going through that, making
Mhm.
all these iterations and kind of just like failing forward?
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I guess back when I first started running ads in like 2018, 2019, I had more of that mindset where it's like, oh, I just don't know if this works or whatever. But then getting good at them in the wedding industry, like that helps me a lot. So when running the program, like there was not really ever a point where I was not profitable, even if it was only like a 2x, ROAS. So I just kept going and I was like, okay, like I know ads work. Like there are, Fortune 500 companies that spend millions of dollars a month on ads. I know they work. I need to get good at nailing down my messaging and nailing down my ideal client to make sure they match. And then I have a good offer as well. So like that's pretty much what I was focused on is like, okay, I know this can work. I'm not putting the puzzle pieces together correctly. And since I was on my own, it was a little bit difficult, which is why I wish I had saw your ad a year prior to when I did, but it's cool. It's cool. I'm happy now. So there was never a point where I was unprofitable. It definitely was frustrating. I will say that. Like, I would have like 10, 20 ad sets in a single campaign running. And before I eventually figured out that, again, like you said, simple scales and complex fails. Um, so yeah, and then like having the lead gen issue solved, and I know I'm going on a tangent, I'll wrap it back, I promise. Having the lead gen situation solved, I knew really that like, okay, because when I came to you, I was still at a bottleneck. I was only at like 15K a month the month before. And then I was like, cool, I need to really focus in hard on the offer and on the content. And literally the first month I was on your program, that's all I focused on. And I went from 15 to like 50, I think is what I did in December, or 45 or something like that. Huge growth. And then I've not been below 50 since. And again, last month I did 73. So roping it back to answer your first question, it was difficult for sure, but my motto was like, I know that it's a problem on my end because I know ads in general work. They work for huge companies, they work for small companies. I just need to figure out how to make it work for me. So yeah.
Love that, man. Love that. Yeah, it's been so cool to see you just absolutely blow up. So, kind of part two of what I mentioned before. So, you didn't necessarily have a lead problem when you came to me. So you saw one of my ads, followed me for a while, didn't really have a lead problem because you were already running ads and they were profitable to some degree. You mentioned you had a bit of a scale problem.
Mhm.
So talk to me a little bit about kind of like why you decided to like sign up and start working together and what were the problems you were facing, and then also to kind of wrap that up, like how did you solve that?
Good question. So I think the number one thing that attracted me to your program was the community factor. The fact that you were there obviously, but you also had a team. I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, so if coaches have a team like with other coaches, it feels like a little less personal. But I saw that as a huge benefit because you know how to bring on A-level players. So I've gotten just as much value from the guys in our circle and the community of students in your program as well as you. So I love that. I love that aspect, how you're not ego driven and you're not like, oh, I'm the know-it-all. Like I need to be the one that coaches everybody. Like you're very, very good at opening up the floor and letting other people speak in on their expertise, which I love. So really it was the community aspect and just surrounding myself with people who are at a higher level and where I wanted to be because I wasn't yet at that point where I'm at a seven-figure run rate. Um, or seven figure or sorry, 6 figure a month cash. and that's where I want to be. And the people in your program are, especially in the mastermind. So I'm like, cool, I want to be in that. And that's why I got in. So that was like the number one sales factor, I guess, for me. But then also number two is like being part of that community, but also you there and the team having people to go to for the weird and random questions that I had that pop up all the fucking time. So it's like, I don't even know how to example, but like I had the basic stuff down. I knew how to make a good program. I knew how to make a good offer. I knew how to run ads, but I needed somebody to help me go from like 15 to 100K a month. And when you do that, there's so many weird things that come up and like bottlenecks and problems that like I really needed help solved. And you can't really put that into a course. So that's where the coaching calls that you guys do and the mastermind calls we do every week, that's where like that stuff really helped me. And I every single time I would jump on a call in the program, no matter what it is, I always walk away and I'm like, God, that was freaking awesome. Like I feel like I could conquer the world and do so many things. So yeah, that's those are the main two selling points. And then also you were just like really fucking cool. So yeah, that's the third.
Well, thank you. That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's really cool seeing like from my side as well, just like super transparently, like being able to attract like really high level people like
Mhm.
on the team and then also in the community too. And it's really cool too to see that at this stage, like not all roads lead back to me. And especially like on mastermind calls, for example, it's like a true mastermind, whereas like it's not the Jeremy Pogue show.
Mhm.
And so there's that like other people in there doing 100K a month and above, and like anywhere from like 50 to like 200, I'd say. Right. So it's like they all have different experiences that are a little bit different than mine. And we
Mhm.
all just kind of bring that together and just collaborate and literally mastermind on that and help each other grow and stuff like that too. So yeah, that's really good feedback and I appreciate that. Um, but yeah, so when it comes to like some of the like the biggest lessons that you've learned just overall kind of like in your journey, if you could nail it down to like kind of a handful of things, like what would you tell younger Peyton?
So is that like what would you tell younger Peyton in life in general or specifically for running a coaching program?
um
We
well
go real deep if you want to, but
I was going more the coaching side,
I
but
got you.
hey, if you want to open the floodgates,
I got you.
more than
Okay,
welcome.
so let's talk entrepreneurship and then we'll go coaching wise. Entrepreneurship,
Right.
it's be okay and be willing to spend quite a bit of money to get into a room where you're not the smartest person. I think that's a really, really crucial bit of advice there. And to rope back for 1 second too, like the community side of your program, it's not just the mastermind that's only helped me. Like there are so many people, just like, students and other coaches in the program who have, they're not being paid by you, to my knowledge, and like they're just helping out in the community. Like it's not just like a hey, I have a question and then I get my question answered and then like I go. So like everybody in there is willing to answer questions and help each other. So I love that, and that's not something I've ever seen in other programs, in the coaching industry itself. So anyway, I just wanted to touch on that. But going back to your initial question, a big thing is like, yeah, like don't be afraid of spending money. Because like, yeah, I lost 5 figures on the program that I spent before I joined your program, but I've well made that up after joining your program. So that's a big thing. And then as far as coaching wise, like I put so much emphasis on the ads and the strategy and like the ad copy and like all of that stuff. And I didn't put as much of a big emphasis on hiring a team, really nailing down the offer, and then just also making sure I think probably the number one thing that I've worked on the most since joining your program is working on the back end and really making sure like I've got a really good time to value ratio so my students are really winning and achieving at a higher level. Optimizing so that way I'm not getting hounded on coaching calls and that my life isn't miserable. Remaking the course to where it's really, really good and it's serving people at a higher level. I think that's been the biggest thing that I've learned. So to answer your first question on like what would I tell my younger self is like number one, join a program, but like yours. And then number two is really focus hard on the fundamentals and the offer and making sure your clients have incredible success. And you have a really good offer. So that way your life isn't horrible when you start scaling. And don't be afraid to hire a team. So yeah.
Love that, man. Yeah. And I got a good taste of being the dumbest person in the room just over the last few days here because right now I'm in Vegas. Just did the Alex and Layla Hermosi like workshop at their headquarters with their team for the last couple of days, and like I was just sitting beside a guy who does like real estate coaching or real estate investing coaching. He's like, yeah, I'm doing like $1 million a year, or sorry, like 11 million a year, and we host events. There's like thousands of people that come. I'm like, fuck. And yeah, and then also just hearing the way that their team talked about $1 million a month businesses as just little babies, I was like, oh, okay, we're broke.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it just kind of like it humbles you in the best way possible, and then it kind of recalibrates you and challenges you to step up, which I've had like the only times in my life where that's really kind of like happened is surrounding myself by other people, like with other people that are objectively richer than me, further ahead than me, smarter, like, right. So that's really important. And then a lot of what we've done, like you said, has been on the back end, right? So team systems, program stuff. What are some of the pillars of building an actually good coaching program?
Oh, that's such a good question. Oh man. I think probably the biggest pillar to building a really good coaching program is just like making sure that you're getting good freaking results. And I can tell, and all of us can tell, when a coach is really just in it for the cash grab and they don't really care too much about the student results. And you are like the opposite of that. And I strive to also be the opposite of that. Um, and like I've just seen that in how many times you've redone your program and how built out, and it's not, well, it's like a long course by any means,
Mhm.
but like the intentionality behind every single course video, every single call that you guys do, it's, you can tell like you're putting your heart and soul into making sure that the people are getting results, and it shows in the fact that your wins channel in Slack is just like going off every single day, which is awesome and crazy and super inspiring. So I think that the first pillar is just really making sure you're nailing down the client experience. That is the most important thing that you could possibly do, in any type of entrepreneurship, business ownership, in general. So that's number one. Yes, for three, right? So number two, God, I don't even know how to follow up number two. Number two, I think, is just having a really solid offer. Which I know like we've gone back and forth a lot on my offer, on my price points, and all of that stuff, which I'm considering raising prices now. So that'll be fun, a conversation to have. But
Let's
anyway,
go.
yeah, but anyway, having a really good offer, and just being willing to say like, like even, speaking of Harmozy, like following his $100 million offers book, like making sure that the perceived likelihood of outcome and like the time delay is low, and whatever his value equation is, I can't name it offhand, but like just making sure you're following that, and you have like a, like for mine, it's like, yeah, you spend 5 or 10K and you can literally make 3, 4, 500K a year. With you though, I feel like you need to raise prices because they're like, it's crazy. Like your program is worth 50, 70, 100K, especially at the mastermind level. Because that's your people are doing that within a month. You know what I mean? So like, what, I don't know what you're charging right now currently for it, but it's whatever it is, it's underpriced. So like, whoever gets in right now is very smart. But and you've not paid me to say that. So
Well, and it's funny you say that too, man, because I'm here with the team right now, and that's been the topic of discussion over the last few days, and it is coming very soon.
yeah,
So if you're watching this,
yeah.
take
Get
action,
in.
or it will bite you in the ass because it will never be this cheap ever again.
Yeah, I can like confidently say, this is one of the most underpriced programs in the entire industry. So yeah. And the third pillar is just really making sure you've got a solid system built out for when you start generating those leads. The lead flow is the cherry on top. If you nail everything else, ads are really fucking easy. And like you teach that, because like the ad strategy that you teach is so simple. It's ridiculous. So, most of your program, I'd argue, is really just devoted to getting the back end stuff right, and then the ads are the cherry on top. So yeah, those are three pillars in my opinion.
That's awesome, man. Excuse me. But yeah, I say it all the time too. It's like a lot of people overcomplicate ads, and they think that it's just the ads that are going to save their entire business and turn it around. But
Mhm.
as you just explained there, most of the groundwork that we do in the program doesn't have to do with ads. Yes, like
Yeah.
with most clients, like they pay, like, let's say if somebody paid me money today, I'd have a one-on-one call within the next 2 days, script of their ads, get them launched this week. But then like that's only like a sliver of
Yeah.
what we're doing, because you can have the best ads in the world, but they're not going to do anything if your program sucks, your onboarding experience is horrible, you don't
Mhm.
have much social proof, your clients don't get great results, you don't have a good community, your offers suck. Like there's so much more that goes into it, and the content especially too, sales assets and
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's another thing I forgot to mention too, is like the actual the warm content that you create, like the YouTube and like the Instagram stuff. And like going back to what you said, like I I did not change my ad strategy at all when I joined your program. All I changed was the offer, the content I was making, and then the back end. So going from 15 to 15 a month, literally all I did was increase ad spend, and really not even by that much, like just a couple grand a month. So yeah, like that's the biggest thing I can say. Like the most valuable part of your program for me specifically was making the content, the middle of funnel content to warm people up, so that way the retargeting ads are hitting, and then just the offer itself in the back end is just so important. So yeah.
Love
And
it.
also too, like in especially in the mastermind mindset around it is huge, because I've been holding myself back with a mental barrier on increasing ad spend, because it's really scary to have like that you spent $900 at Facebook come out like every other day. It's very scary. But when I'm getting 6K, 10K deposited like several times a week, I'm like, all right, cool, it's not that bad. But I had to break past that at first. And that's what I really value about the mastermind, is because I was very particular and like, okay, I need to have everything set up first before I scale. Which some would argue is the better way to do it. Some argue is the worst way to do it. I don't know. It worked for me, but that's been the best part, is just like being able to jump on those calls every week, and then here and there when I attend the big group calls. It's just been so helpful in all of those aspects. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. So the mastermind is something that you've mentioned quite a bit,
Mhm.
and I don't really talk about at all on the front end. It's not really advertised. Like even inside the program, it's like this kind of like super secret, hidden, like big kids club kind of
Yeah.
thing. Um, but nonetheless, like for those listening, basically it's people doing at least 30 to 250, like 200 a month pretty much. And
Mhm.
we just meet up and share all the trade insider secrets with each other and help each other out. But
Yeah.
Alex and I, he's my business partner on the mastermind. We've got some big things coming for that.
Yeah.
That's all I can say right now. But there's going to be, it's going to be pretty surreal. So I'm really excited for
Mhm.
that. But I'm
Yeah.
curious to
And
know, like,
go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
okay, I'm curious to know, like, being in the mastermind, what has that kind of done in terms of like a standards perspective?
Good question. So I want to answer your question, but I also want to just not teach, but like speak on something real fast. I don't want me talking about the mastermind to take away from the value of the base level of your program, because that itself really was what helped me probably the most. And just being able to like speak with you and speak with the other people in the community, that's helped a lot, really, to get me from like that 15 to 50. But then now going from 40, 50 a month up to 100, that's where the mastermind is really going to help me a lot. So I just wanted to say that like I did join the mastermind as soon as I joined, and I know that's a little bit different than your usual client journey,
Mhm.
but I can say I see so much value in the base level program, and both are just an incredible part of your program. But anyway, yeah, for the standards being set, like my ego whenever I joined the mastermind was like, oh, because like I was used to myself being the smartest person in my own room in my program. So I was like, I know what I'm doing, like I'm doing pretty well. And then the first call I get in on the mastermind, I was like, bro, what? I know nothing. This is crazy. So I definitely felt like a beginner in the midst of all of you guys in the mastermind. So as far as standards go, my standards have skyrocketed in the quality of my program, the quality of my life in general, and the quality that I expect out of my team and out of my students as well in my own program. So that has just completely changed my mindset about everything. So invaluable. Like whatever you end up charging for it, it's underpriced. So
Well, I appreciate you clarifying that too, because yeah, that is a really good point. The
mhm.
mastermind's only for like scales designed to get you to 30, 40, 50K a month, give or take. From
Or
there,
more. Like you've got people at the
oh
base level
yeah,
more than that. Yeah.
yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
But basically when you get to the point where like front end's pretty dialed in to some degree and the back end breaks, The way we like to solve is like my front end program creates fulfillment problems, and then the mastermind solves them to a degree as well, right? Obviously, there's a lot of that in scale too, and whatnot. Like, yeah, we've had multiple clients get to 7 figures just from scale alone, which is really sweet.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, yeah, there's a bit of a difference. So I appreciate you clarifying that. But yeah, we've been talking to, like, I think it is critical that people do go through scale first to get all the fundamentals and foundations nailed down first,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
then they're kind of like qualified to like speak our language, so to say, in the mastermind, and stuff like that too. So um, on a very tactical level,
Hmm.
because I nerd out about client success and the client experience and all, like the product and the program, and I know you do too. So on a very tactical level, what's one thing that somebody watching right now can do to their coaching program to increase the value, increase the likelihood that their clients get results, increase the magnitude of the results their clients get, or
Hmm.
just improve the value of the community? Like, on a very tactical level, what's one little lever they can pull right now after watching this video to make this very actionable,
Hmm.
um, from your experience, that they can do to better their program?
Yeah. So the number one thing that helped me was really nailing down my onboarding, which is something that we've talked about a lot in groups in the program. For me specifically, it's an introduction video with a checklist, a guide to go through the program. For some people, that's going to be an onboarding call, and that might be me too in the future. But you know, whether, and like for you, I think it's an onboarding call that might change, of course, but and then in other programs, it's like a group onboarding call. And some people like me, it's just a video. So really nailing down the onboarding, delivering the entire value of your program up front when people join, because buyer's remorse is huge in the very beginning. So if you can really get them hooked in on you, right, like within a few days of the program, if not immediately, and then give them a very clear cut guide on how to go through it and how to navigate it, what questions to ask, when to ask them, what to do on coaching calls, what not to do on coaching calls, how to use the community. That has helped me incredibly on client success in my own program, but also like my own ease, because now I'm not getting a bunch of people hopping on coaching calls that are not going through the course first and asking questions that are answered in my course videos. So like your overall as a coach, like your overall mind, the peace of mind and your client success, both of those, if you're having trouble with those, can be solved with having a really nailed down onboarding process. So that has helped me a lot in discussing that, not only watching the videos that you have in the course, but also like talking about those on coaching calls too. So that's probably the biggest thing.
Love it. Setting the expectations and the boundaries
Yep.
very clearly, so then you can hold the frame and kind of guide them throughout the rest of the process. And yeah, buyer's remorse is a real thing.
Hmm.
And I'd imagine a lot of people watching this have probably had some clients of theirs get buyer's remorse.
Hmm.
So getting from 15 to 75K a month, how'd you do it? What were the levers that you pulled? And like, this can be on a kind of like on a higher level for
Hmm.
sure, but like obviously, like, ads, good offer, and then like team member, and go from there. But I don't
Yeah.
want to, I just want to hand it off to you.
Yeah. So, timeline wise, yeah, I did 50 in December, 50 in January, or 60 in January, and then right under 60 in February, and then for March I did 73. So, the biggest thing for me that has changed is, and also I want to say too, like I have not intentionally been trying to scale to 100 the past couple months because I've been nailing down my back end. So that's a big thing I want to preface there. I'm ready for that now, but in the past couple of months I wasn't. So the biggest things that I saw, number one, was hiring a team member, having a setter, because I had a setter when I joined your program, but he was not really performing. So I learned actually how to lead a setter, which was huge. That I learned from your program, and then obviously talking with Sergio. Actually, he's the one who set my setter, and is great. So, and he's absolutely crushing it. It was just a perfect fit right from the beginning, and he's happy. I'm happy. We're doing great. Second thing I did was I really nailed down my onboarding process, like I just mentioned, and I did a video with a whole guide and all that stuff. Third is I'm revamping my course, and that's happening right now. And it's more designed to get people better results going through the course. So that way, they're not having to jump on coaching calls and ask me a ton of questions. And then offer. So offer structure was also huge. I structure things a little bit differently than some people do. And like I show my pricing up front. I've got two options. And it's a little bit different, but my clients like that. They value the authenticity. I got that idea from you, by the way, and they love it. So that's what's helped me a lot. So really, just the big things are um, onboarding, hiring a setter, going back through the program, making sure it's really rocking and getting good results. So I'm getting referrals. Oh, implementing a referral program. That was big. I've gotten several people started to refer people from me because I did that last month. So that's big. Uh, Offer structure, really making it like just incredibly attractive to join the program and making people say no. Like they would feel stupid saying no, like Hermosi says.
Mhm.
And then finally, just like increasing ad spend. Like I said, this past month, I implemented your ad strategy, and I think I spent like 1,000 on it or whatever. And overall, like I've tracked several sales back from it. So I think probably 15 to 20K out of 1,000. So really not bad at all. Um, I don't know that for sure though. I'd have to go look and I can get back to you on that. But
Mhm.
it's helped a lot. So really just increasing ad spend on the ad side. I didn't really change my strategy too much other than implementing one campaign that you teach, and that's been it. It's been easier than I thought. Uh but yeah, it's just been great. So
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, it's interesting too, because like when people think about scaling, they think it's just all about front end marketing, sales, cranking ads and stuff like that. But in
yeah.
reality, it's more so like a slingshot effect where it's like you said, it's like you haven't been intentionally trying to scale. Your new baseline is 60K a month right now,
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
is a great problem to have, right? And that was kind of the same with me. It's like I think like I was probably shouldn't be saying this publicly, but I only spent like 3K a month on ads last month, and we
That
still
makes me
did.
angry. I hope you know. Like that makes me very angry.
But we still did, like it was a six-figure month,
Yeah.
and mostly just from like referrals, like happy clients telling other clients about it and say you have to get into this program,
Yeah.
right? And then boom, they blow up really quickly. But enough of the subtle flexing, but
It's true though, because
aside
like it
from
speaks to what you speak on in both versions of your program, where like client success is huge. Because I haven't really been taking that too seriously, so I know like really nailing down my client experience and then implementing that referral program. I don't know if you do that or not, but like implementing that in my program has already started to help me. So that's going to snowball. So that way, maybe I can get to the point where I'm also getting like a 50x return on ad spend or whatever yours is. So yeah,
well, it's not quite 50, I'll tell you that. Well,
something high.
directly, yeah.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, all that stuff helps big time. And at the scaling workshop with the Hermosis a few days ago, one of the things that they mentioned was like how great CEOs or like have to view their business, like we have to view our businesses as investors,
Mhm.
and investors don't like big fluctuations and spikes because that means it's unpredictable and and it's scary because usually what goes up must come down, and
Right.
it does, and a lot of people do that. They have like, especially like I saw that firsthand. I scaled like over 200K a month with just me and a setter, like just me and a setter, and so it was like a one man show pretty much, like on the back end. And then I was like, okay, I got to pump the brakes. I raised my price. I turned off my ads for a couple months. I had to rebuild everything and hire a team, build systems and all of that. But one thing I've come to learn is like kind of like slow is fast.
Yeah.
And it's more important to be steady and steadily climbing consistently and then just increasing your baseline rather than having like a huge spike and then dropping and just being very volatile. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's cool to hear as well. Like and honestly, like there's no getting past it. People are looking for shortcuts all the time,
Yeah.
but the only actual way to scale is like with that slingshot effect. You have to work in the back end and dial the back end in to a T, and then you let go, and then it's just like then you're off to the races. Like I hate to say it, but we're rebuilding the program from scratch again right now.
Yeah.
This will be 4.0 over the last like year and a bit, and this should be hopefully the last variation before eight figures. At least that's our intention. So,
Mhm.
but again, like once we let go, buckle up. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's cool to hear like your perspective on that too. And I see a lot of people skipping that, a lot of people skipping a lot of steps and just
Mhm.
trying to be in it for like a quick cash grab almost, right?
Yep. I would say too, like a lot of people want that shortcut. The biggest shortcut that you could possibly have is just investing in somebody who's done it, who's somebody who can teach you how to do things. Because, like I said, I spent 2.5 years really getting good at ads when I probably, if you had scale back then, I probably would have just invested in it and I would have been doing great. So, like, you know, get a freaking business credit card or like a, capital loan or something and invest in a mentor because it is just invaluable. Because I mean, you're just unlocking so much knowledge all at once where you don't have to just go on YouTube and try to like learn different things and funnel hack people and like, try to figure things out on your own and either like, burn your business to the ground or like, step on Legos your entire way up to 6 figures a year. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Really quick as well before we start to kind of wrap things up here. Somebody who's stuck at 15 to 20K a month right now. Things are going, they're signing a few clients every month, right? Maybe they've kind of been stuck and plateaued there. What
Mhm.
advice would you give them to break through that ceiling and get to that next level?
Oh, that's easy. Just be me in December of 2023. So invest in a program, ideally yours, but I know not everybody's going to vibe with you. So like find somebody you vibe with and that has really good results and invest in them, and just do what they freaking say. Like it's that easy. Like that is my only advice is just invest in a program. That's proven, invest in a mentor that's really getting results and make sure they prove it like you do. And that's it. That's my best advice.
Love it, man. Love it. Well, Peyton, thanks so much for coming on the channel, man.
Of
And
course.
again, it's been awesome seeing your growth and being a part of your journey too. Having you in the mastermind's been incredible as well. I really appreciate all the value that you give to everybody else too. And it's a true like give and take as well. So from myself and the team, I can speak for them as well. We just want to say thanks for being such an awesome person. Thanks for being such a great business owner and such a good contribution to the community as well. And again, thanks for hopping on here with me today.
Of course. Thank you for inviting me. It was awesome.
Awesome. We'll have to do another one once you crack 100K month.
I'm down. So I'll be back next month. We'll see.
All right. Stay tuned, guys. All right. With that said, if you are looking to scale your online coaching business, book a call down below. Again, we're raising the price very quickly by quite a bit, and it will never be this cheap and underpriced. Well, hopefully it'll still be underpriced because the value is just going to be disgusting. But nonetheless, if you are tired of being stuck and plateauing, book a call with me down below. DM me on Instagram, Jeremy_Pogue. Let's go.
Let's go.